isoniazide and rifampicin. So we are going to continue with pyrazinamide. At any point of time, if you are not able to see the slide or if you are not able to hear me, please let me know. I am switching off my webcam because the network is not allowing me to, you know, switch on my webcam. So isoniazid we read, rifampicin we read, the two most important drugs for the treatment of TB. Rest of the drug actually we are adding to mostly because we need to overcome the drug resistance developed for isoniazid and rifampicin. Otherwise, isoniazid and rifampicin are capable enough to control the infection. So here comes pyrazinamide, which is chemically similar to isoniazid, and hence the mechanism of action is uh, almost similar. So it is also, as I said, apart from ethambutol, all are cidal in nature, so it is also cidal. It is more active in acidic medium. This is very, very important to understand because the pyrazinamide is active in acidic medium. It is more lethal to the intracellular bacilli and to those at the site showing an inflammatory response. So in the initial infection, there is a lot of inflammation, and hence in the initial 2-month phase when we give initiation therapy, we add pyrazinamide and then we remove it from the continuous subsides. It's if continue pyrazinamide in the regimen after inflammation, that is after 2-month period, it will add on the ADR only and will not be benefit. There will be no benefit. So you will see that in continuation phase there is no for drugs will be there in the continuation phase. We will see. So this is very important concept about pyrazinamide. Apart from that, it is having a good sterilizing activity, and its use enabled total therapy to be short already and E2H. So a lot of price breakdown according to Muhammad Akhlaq. So if all can get this is from my side. Any modification, any mutation in this gene, PSPCN enzyme pyrazinamidase, which is required for activation of pyrazinamide. So the drug pyrazinamide is development. This is the mechanism of development of resistance to pyrazinamide. That is mutation in PCNA gene, which is encoding for pyrazinamidase enzyme that is required for conversion of pyrazinamide to pyrazinoic acid, which is the active form of pyrazinamide. After this acidification, it is isoniazide by because this is synthase 2. This is the little synthase 2, and ultimately it will also disturb the mycolic acid synthesis. As far as bioavailability is concerned, I already told you that all the drugs are orally available because their bioavailability is good. So 90% bioavailability you can see, and there is a good penetration in CSF. Sorry, so it can be used for TB meningitis along with isoniazid. Mostly isoniazid we use. Metabolized by this enzyme deaminase in liver and excreted in urine. The half is short. The ADRs are, as I said, out of HRZE. Out of HRZE, ethambutol is more responsible for causing nephrotoxicity. Rest all are causing hepatotoxicity. So pyrazinamide is also known for causing hepatotoxicity because it metabolizes in liver. Apart from that, the ADR to remember with pyrazinamide are hyperuricemia, arthralgia, and it also leads to loss of diabetic control. So the dose adjustment for the patient having diabetes and any other comorbidities is required. So this is all about pyrazinamide, ethambutol, the fourth drug. It is the only static drug, as I told you, and it is more sensitive for fast multiplying bacteria. So all the drugs actually are more sensitive to fast multiplying bacteria, or you can say the fast multiplying bacteria are more sensitive to all the drugs. So good thing about the ethambutol is it can it is efficacious against a typical mycobacterium also. So what is the reason for adding it into the triple regimen of isoniazid, pyrazinamide, and rifampicin? Because it will, increase the rate of sputum conversion. So the infection, the contagiousness of the disease will decrease, and resistance development is decreased. So anyway, there are two most important point to add ethambutol and pyrazinamide to isoniazid and rifampicin regimen and make it HRZD to overcome, to reduce the or to prevent the development of resistance. First thing, and to hasten the rate of sputum conversion from positive to negative, so the contagiousness decreases. And third is also to decrease the drug resistance, drug adverse drug reaction. What is the mechanism? Sorry, the mechanism of action of ethambutol is there is a theory behind it that it might inhibiting the enzyme arabinosyl transferase 3, which is encoded by the gene EMB-AB gene. So again, the mechanism of development of resistance is mutation of EMB-AB gene. So you need to remember the mechanism of development of resistance to first line ATT, HRZE. All these four drugs are prone because the bacteria are getting resistant against these four drugs. So you should know the mechanism of action and the if the mechanism of action, you will find that gene which is responsible for development of mechanism of resistance. Okay, so these two things is very, very important as far as ATT charge is concerned. So as far as the ethambutol is concerned, if you see, there is an enzyme which is responsible for the enzyme on the target site of ethambutol. If there is mutation to that enzyme, that gene, it will lead to transformation or change in the enzyme, which leads to development of resistance to ethambutol. So this is the enzyme arabinosyl transferase 3 where ethambutol is acting, which is encoded by this gene, EMB gene, and this is happening with all the drugs. If you remember, everywhere you find a gene which is responsible for synthesis of some enzyme, and that enzyme is the target site of our drug. So any mutation in, so bacteria are doing, they are mutating their gene just to protect themselves from the drug. So the both the creature, human being as well as the bacteria, both wants to live. So we want to protect ourselves from bacteria. Bacteria wants to protect ourselves from themselves from the drug which we are using to kill it. The simple that fight is going on. So we are making new drug again and again, and they are in target for the drug we are using. So this this is very important to understand. Apart from HRZ, it has all side effects of it. Also, there is low acuity, and especially the color vision due to optic is reversible. But the population below 3 of this ADR, so we do not recommend using ethambutol to them, because if not stopped, it will convert it to the permanent damage to the eye. So this red green color vision uh, loss will happen. And why it is important? Because the adults who are on ATT, they can miss their traffic signals and there are chances of accidents. So this thing is very, very important to counsel them that as soon as you have any ADR related to eye, like color vision loss, please report immediately so that we can stop with ethambutol, and hence it will be reversible and we can protect the eye. Apart from that, the nausea, rashes and fever are some less important, and along with pyrazinamide, two drugs in ATT, pyrazinamide, they are CB, this kind of tea, mainly neurological toxicity, flu-like syndrome, it is I audible? So aminoglycoside I am not going to discuss now. Now is it audible? As I can see, I am audible to you now. In between, it went. Uh, I can see my audio connection is restored now. Okay, fine. So what I am saying, aminoglycoside group of drugs we are not going to discuss. This is already been covered. So let's continue with other drugs. Okay. So let's come to the second line tubercular drug. First thing is thiocitazone. A little bit about all these drugs, which we will not go in so much of deep because it has been covered earlier. So, and if not covered, it is your duty to read all these drugs. These are miscellaneous drugs. You need to read it. So it was the first AT antitubercular therapy tested, but it was very weak, so discarded because of its side effect. And now it is revived because of lot of resistance coming to the first line and safer drug. Then para-aminosalicylic acid. This is again sulfonamide group of drug, and it has been covered. I hope it's already been covered. So these are static drugs, and you all know the mechanism of action of sulfonamide group of drug. Ethionamide is very important, which we'll discuss here only. It is similar to ethambutol, which is static in nature, but do not get confused with these two names. Ethambutol and ethionamide. Ethambutol is first line ATT. Ethionamide is second line ATT because it is having moderate efficacy and it is acting both on extracellular as well as intracellular like ethambutol. Ethambutol mostly active against the extracellular rapidly multiplying bacteria, and it can be again having good bioavailability, so can be used orally and good distribution amongst tissue like CSF. Then if you see the mechanism of action, you can see here it also enters by passive diffusion, just like other drugs like pyrazinamide and isoniazid, and then it get converted to its active form by the enzyme monooxygenase, which is again coded by this enzyme ETHA. So any mutation in this gene lead to the transformation of enzyme oxygenase, which will not uh, letting this drug get activated inside the bacteria, and hence the efficacy will decrease and resistance will develop. Ultimately, it will decrease the mycolic acid synthesis by inhibiting enoyl acyl reductase of fatty acid synthesis. So you can see isoniazide as well as pyrazinamide as well as ethionamide, they all are mycolic acid synthesis inhibitor, but their target are different. Side effects, you can see there are common side effects like GIT side effects, and apart from that, it also cause hepatitis. So ethambutol doesn't cause hepatic, yeah, causing less hepatic toxicity, while ethionamide is known to cause hepatitis. Apart from that, there are lot of newer drugs which will be discussed later on as well. So a group of drugs, fluoroquinolones, you must remember this is very important second line drugs. And now the resistance of Mycobacterium to fluoroquinolone also get developed, and we have a different regimen for that. So ciprofloxacin, ofloxacin, this all already been covered. Macrolides already been covered. Rifabutin, we'll see. So rifabutin is, as the name says, it is the congener of rifampicin. So rifampicin, rifabutin, rifampicin, these three drugs we'll see, and all everything is similar to rifampicin, like mechanism of action, spectrum, and development of resistance mechanism. What is the difference between rifabutin and rifampicin? This is very important to remember and commonly asked question in theory as well as viva, that the advantage of rifabutin over rifampicin is are: number one, it has better activity against Mycobacterium avium complex MAC as compared to rifampicin, and it is active against the bacterium Mycobacterium leprae and fortuitum, which are resistant to the rifampicin. So in cases of rifampicin resistance, we can use rifabutin. Longer plasma half-life is again pharmacokinetic advantage of rifabutin over rifampicin, because rifampicin is a known enzyme inducer, and there are a lot of drug interaction with rifampicin. Rifabutin is a weak enzyme inducing effect as compared to rifampicin. It can also use in place of rifampicin for treatment of TB in HIV infected patient. As I already told you, there are drug interaction between ZM, zidovudine and rifampicin. So the patient taking ART, antiretroviral therapy, in that we can change rifampicin with rifabutin so that the interaction will be less. So, and one more thing is there is no effect of food. So there is less drug interaction, there is less drug food interaction as well. So you all must remember the advantage of rifabutin over rifampicin. Dose is 300 mg per day, and ADR are same, like red orange color urine, skin rash, hepatitis, neutropenia, but less as compared to rifampicin. So here the drug interaction may decrease the plasma concentration of theophylline, OCP, PI, and NRD, just like rifampicin, but lesser than rifampicin. Similarly, the drug interaction with fluconazole is also less. So whatever we saw in rifampicin, the disadvantages of rifampicin are it is a first choice drug, but in case if you are not able to use rifampicin, we can switch to rifabutin. These are two new entries in the treatment of TB, Oxa, Zolio, which are already there, and you may have read in miscellaneous topic. Otherwise, I am going to cover it whatever way it is possible here. But recently, these drugs are being used in treatment of TB because a lot of resistance is developed to the first line drugs. So linezolid is one of the drugs. A good thing about linezolid, it is having 100% oral bioavailability. So second drug, like isoniazid, a second drug which you can remember as an example of the drug which is having 100% oral bioavailability. But these drugs are also available in parenteral form. If there is any way, if the patient is unconscious or not able to take the drug orally, you can give it by parenteral route as well. But otherwise, these drugs are having 100% oral bioavailability. It means they are very, very good drug for give to the patients who can take the drug orally. And it is very effective against resistant strain. ADRs, bone marrow suppression, which is reversible, is a known side effect of linezolid and peripheral neuropathy. Although these are very, very rare, but it can happen. There are adverse effects on prolonged use. So why it is a reserve drug? Because in TB we need to use the drug for 6 months to 12 months, and this drug will cause ADR of this serious ADR only when we use it for long term. So this is one of the limitation, and hence it is here. So now the latest entry, bedaquiline and delaminid. So we read, let us discuss delaminid and pretomanid first. So these are some nitroimidazole kind of drug. We need not to remember the chemical names, but what exactly is delaminid? They are prodrug, and hence they need to get activated through nitro reduction. So this FGD gene is responsible for nitro reduction of delaminid to get activated. After get activated, it is similar to isoniazid. I'm sorry, it is inhibiting the mycolic acid synthesis, and in addition to that, they are also inhibiting protein synthesis. The mechanism for inhibition of mycolic acid synthesis is by inhibiting the conversion of hydroxyl mycolate to ketomycolate. So this is what you need to remember, because they are the latest entry in treatment of TB. So everything, whatever we have, whatever theory we know about delaminid, you need to remember. So that is one thing, that they get reactive in nitrogen species nitioxide and kill intracellular non-replicating persistent bacilli. This is very, very important mechanism of action of delaminid. So it has multiple mechanisms of action, if you can see. First, it get activated through nitroduction, so it is a prodrug. Second, after getting activated, it number one inhibiting macrolic acid synthesis. Number two, it is inhibiting protein synthesis, and number three, they are because after reducing they produce nitric oxide species, which is involved in killing of intracellular non-replicating persistent bacilli. This word intracellular non-replicating persistent bacilli is very important to understand because these are those bacilli which are responsible for development of resistance. So now this drug is there in market to target those persistent bacilli. Okay, so ADR to remember with delamunides, QT prolongation, which is same with bedaquiline also. So this is the very important drug bedaquiline, which is because it is now being added into our national guideline. I already shared a PDF with you all, which is the latest March 2021 update in national guideline for treatment of TB and leprosy. Please go through it. Although it is 350 pages long document, I am suggesting you to read at least the chapter number 4 where they discuss thoroughly about the drugs and the regimens which we can use to treat drug resistance TB. So if there is no drug resistance, then we are very safe and we are having our first line ATT HRZD. But if there are resistance, there are new drugs like bedaquiline. Okay, so a little bit of theory for bedaquiline. So it is a diaryl quinoline derivative. It is cationic amphiphilic drug and has tendency to accumulate in the tissue. The most important thing is the mechanism of action, which is the new mechanism of action. Like it binds to C subunit of ATP synthase. That enzyme ATP synthase is the target for bedaquiline and which is responsible for inhibiting the proton pump activity. So this is how it kills the bacteria, mycobacterium. Good thing about the pharmacokinetic of bedaquiline is very good. Distribution is very good. So tissue penetration is very good. And because of high plasma protein binding, its half life is more. You can it is so it can. This is very important. Even after bedaquiline, that you can detect bedaquiline in plasma for 5 to 6 months. This is good because we need to give this drug for longer period of time. It is metabolized in liver and by the enzyme cytochrome P3A4. So all the inducer and inhibitor of this enzyme interact with bedaquiline. This is the dose of bedaquiline which I'm not telling you to remember. But you must remember that the first 2 weeks it is given in higher dose and later on the dose will decrease. QT prolongation like delaminid is one of the known side effect of bedaquiline and severe. Obviously, you all know about QT prolongation. It is ventricular tachyarrhythmia and it is life threatening. Obviously, apart from that, headache, dizziness, feeling sick, like flu-like syndrome, and these joint pain, all those symptoms which you can feel during the flu can be seen with bedaquiline as ADR. Okay, so you causing in because of what to counsel the patient about those thing in this pre treatment counseling, which I am not going to discuss here. I am just showing you this slide so that you can read this slide so that you can understand what kind of counseling is required before giving ATT, and similarly what kind of evaluation you need to do before starting ATT. It's not like for any patient you are starting anything. It is now very, very patient dependent. Okay. So we choose regimen on the basis of patient clinical condition and patient lab values. So there is a lot of evolution happens in anti-tubercular therapy. Again, do no need to remember it. Just a background information that a lot of changes happened. Unconventionally, 1 to 1.5 year treatment was there, but now a less toxic 6 to 8 month therapy is with us. So this is a great evolution in treatment of TB. So if you see rapidly growing high bacillary low TB, they respond well to isoniazid. Slow growing response at inflamed side, as I told you, the pyrazinamide is drug very effective in acidic medium. So in inflamed tissue, pyrazinamide is very, very helpful. For spurters, rifampicin is most active, and for dormant, there is no ATT which is effective. So that's why this delaminate kind of drug which are evolved now, which are targeting the intercellular persistent bacilli, so, you know, like spurters and dormants. Then in for the first time, we go to the background guideline. WHO started this direct course. DOTS full form you should know, which is a regimen of 6 to 9 months duration. And there are many countries, and also our country of the take this initiative. We started our tuberculosis programs. So there are 2 to 3 months of intensive or initiation phase and 6 to 8 months of continuation phase. So for the first time, DOTS therapy, you can see here. Do not remember this now. It is changed. Earlier there were 3 category, and most important things you can see here. The category, there were 3 category, and there was alternate day therapy. Later on, it is changed to 2 category. Alternate day therapy continues in 2010 and 2011. Then in 60, uh, daily regimen. 2018 is the, all the categories get so now by assessment to be, and for next 4 we give HRE. So initial phase or continuation phase, total duration is 6 months. So as I already discussed with you that pyrazinamide is used only for Okay, so now the audio connection is restored. I hope now I am audible to you. Please let me know. Am I audible? Because I can see. Okay, fine. So, okay, Shashwat, thank you. So I am saying it again and again that there is no need to remember the earlier versions of our guideline. It is very important now to focus on 2018 RNTCP guideline, which is the latest one. Now there are some updates again come in 2021, which I shared the PDF with you, which I am going to discuss again here. But you need to remember this. Right now, whatever is in front of you, the slide is in front of you. So you have to see, you have to remember it. There is no category now. There is no alternate day therapy. Very, very simple. And this we are discussing for drug sensitive TB. Okay, we are not discussing here right now the resistance one, which we'll discuss later on in 5 minutes. Very, very simple. 6 months duration treatment. First 2 months is initial phase or initiation phase. There are two names, and second one is continuation phase of 4 months. The drug therapy is same actually, HRZD, but we are removing Z because Z is more effective in acidic medium, which is when there is inflammation. In first 2 months of therapy, the inflammation subsides, so there is no more benefit of pyrazinamide. So the risk benefit ratio, if we assess, the risk will be more as compared to the benefit. So we remove Z. This is very simple. HRZD for initial 2 months and HRE for next 4 months. Daily treatment, there is no alternate day therapy or thrice a week therapy. And there is no categorization of TB patient. All the sputum positive, drug sensitive TB patient will go through this drug regimen. This is the best thing nowadays. Earlier, we need to remember the category wise treatment, which was very confusing. So this March 2021 guideline for programmatic management of drug-resistant TB. Now, this term PMDT, you must remember, PMDT means programmatic management of drug-resistant TB, which is launched in March 2021 by our national guideline. And this the program now. The term changes to National Tuberculosis Elimination Program (NTEP). So now the program which is running in our country is with the name of National Tuberculosis Elimination Program, because we are very enthusiastic that we will finish or eliminate TB from India by 2025, which is 5 years earlier than the world target. So the target is to, the globe should be free of TB by 2030. But now Indian government has committed to, achieve this target 5 years before 2025. But unfortunately, because of COVID, the things are going slow. But we are very dedicated and enthusiastic as far as NTEP is concerned. So remember these two names, PMDT and NTP. These are new terminologies. PMDT is Programmatic Management of Drug Resistance TB, and NTP is the National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. These are the doses which we discuss mostly. I told you that there is no more 3 times per week regimen now, so you need to remember this daily doses. So whatever we read, that 2 months of HRZD and say 4 months of HRE, the dose will be like this: 5 mg per kg body weight of isoniazid, 10 mg per kg body weight of rifampicin, 25 mg per kg pyrazinamide, 15 ethambutol, 15 streptomycin. Streptomycin is no more used, so you need to remember 5, 10, 25, 15 HRZD. 5, 10, 25, 15. Okay, so this is how you need to remember. So this is again, you need to remember that how we are supplying it to our patient. So these kind of fixed dose combination is available in government supply, which contains 75, 150, 400 to 75 mg of HRZD, and another sachet contains 75, 150 to 75 mg of HRE. On the basis of weight, we will take the weight of the patient. 25 to 39 kg will dispense two such FDCs. 2 means 2 per day, means we are giving the drug for whole month. So we give these like 60 packets. So 2 packets per day, and one packet contains 75, 150, 400 to 75. So 2 packets will contain 150, 300, 800, like that. So this is how we are providing our patient the ATTs. ये आपको मैं इसलिए बता रहा हूँ कि you should know how the ATT are available. They are available in fixed dose combination of HRZD and HRE containing this much amount of the drug, and on the basis of weight we will provide number of such sachets for daily uses. And next month we tell them to come again for the counseling as well as for the evaluation of treatment. So similarly, this is for pediatric population. Now, whatever we discussed so far is for drug sensitive TB. If you go by the definition, there are many definitions for resistance TB. One is mono-resistance, which says that there is resistance to only one drug. So, like resistance to a single first line drug, single first line drug, but any drug. Like for rifampicin, it is termed as rifampicin resistance (RR). Okay, and polyresistance is the term given when resistance to more than one drug, but not the combination of HNR. Why? HNR is removed because any resistance to H and R and more than one drug, it will be known as multi-drug resistant TB. Okay, then there is apart from rifampicin resistance is also mono-resistant, but it is separately defined as the term rifampicin resistance because this is a very very important drug for the treatment of TB. So MDR and XDR, the difference is this is multi-drug resistance where the resistance to at least more than one drug and one of the drug is at least isoniazid rifampicin. Then we term it as MDR. And there is XDR, means extensively drug resistant TB, where there is a resistance to MDR regimen plus fluoroquinolones and plus one of the injectable drug like any of the aminoglycoside. So at least 4 drug resistance will count for XDR. So we are actually we have no issue with drug sensitive TB. We are doing very good as far as drug sensitive TB is concerned. We are concerned about the MDR and XDR TB. So for mono resistance, like for isoniazid mono resistance or poly drug resistant TB, where there is rifampicin resistance not detected and isoniazid resistance detected. So now NTEP is saying that you can say this in very simple form. If we say that isoniazid resistance TB case, then what we do, we give HRZD we used to give, but HKL resistances, so we changed it from second line drug, that is levofloxacin, one of the fluoroquinolone is added, and isoniazid is removed because there is a mono resistance to isoniazid. So remember this regimen for, if somebody asks you what is the regimen for treatment of isoniazid resistant TB, the regimen is 6 to 9 month duration of levofloxacin, rifampicin, ethambutol and pyrazinamide. Simple है, HRZD में से H को remove किया है because there is resistance to H, so in its place we added levofloxacin, that is the fluoroquinolones. Now for MDR TB, where there is more than resistance to more than one drug, and one of the drug must be isoniazid or rifampicin. So there was a DOTS plus program initiated, and the category was the categorized MDR TB was categorized as category 4. But now, as per NTEP, what is the treatment for MDR? So this again, this grouping of anti-TB drugs for MDR TB regimen is taken from the same PDF which I have shared with you all. There are 3 groups of drug: Group A, Group B, and Group C. First choice is Group A, where we include all the 3 medicines. So levofloxacin, that is the fluoroquinolone, it should be there, and along with it, either moxi or bedaquiline or linezolid should be added. Okay, so there are 3 medicine. Out of these 4 medicines should be given, levofloxacin should be added. If there is resistance to Group A, add one or both medicines in this. So if there is resistance to any of the drug, remove that drug and add this clofazimine, cycloserine, or tericlofazimine, terizidone. Okay. Then group C, add to complete regimen when medicine from group N B cannot be used. So these are the drugs: delamanid, pyrazinamide, imipenem, cilastatin, meropenem, or amikacin. So this you need to read and remember for treatment of MDR-TB. XDR-TB treatment earlier was this, which I am not suggesting you to remember. So this is how you need to remember now for both. Now there is a common term given for XDR and MDR-TB, that is drug resistance TB. And as per NTP, National Tuberculosis Elimination Program. So there are two regimen, which is bedaquiline based regimen, are introduced now recently in 2021. One is known as short-term bedaquiline regimen, and other one is long-term bedaquiline regimen. So now remember this: apart from drug-sensitive TB treatment, which I told you, 2 months of HRZD and 4 months of HRE, you remember isoniazid resistance TB, where we removed H isoniazid and added levofloxacin. And now you need to remember this for MDR and XDR TB. You can see here short-term bedaquiline regimen में 4 to 6 months of bedaquiline, mostly 6 months we gave along with these drugs. Here you can see levofloxacin, clofazimine, pyrazinamide, ethambutol, high dose of isoniazid and ethionamide, and then 5 months of levofloxacin, clofazimine, pyrazinamide, and ethambutol. And then comes long-term bedaquiline regimen, where this short-term bedaquiline regimen is not effective. We can prolong the treatment, and here we give 18 to 20 months of this whole regimen: levofloxacin, bedaquiline, linezolid, clofazimine, and cycloserine. Okay, so this you need to remember. Four things I am telling you again. First, drug-sensitive TB, 2 HRZD, 4 HRE. Second, isoniazid-resistant TB. In place of isoniazid, add levofloxacin. And means we are replacing isoniazid with levofloxacin because there is resistance to isoniazid. Then for MDR and XDR TB, short-term bedaquiline regimen and long-term bedaquiline regimen is right in front of you. Nowadays, it is very easy to remember. At our time, there was category-wise treatment and there are a lot of confusion. So please read and remember these regimens. There is one more very important regimen to remember, is BPAL regimen. Very simple, BPAL, and it is for what? It is for MDR-TB, which is having additional fluoroquinolone resistance. Because what we are using in MDR-TB, the first drug we are using is fluoroquinolone. If there is resistance to that also, then we have this BPAL regimen. Just remember, BPAL regimen is for multi-drug resistance TB, which has additional resistance to fluoroquinolones. So here, as the name suggests, BPAL. B is bedaquiline, PA is predominant, and L is linezolid. Here the dose is given, which is I don't think is very important to remember, but at least the name you should remember, BPAL, and the 6 to 9 month duration of treatment is given. Anti-tubercular therapy in special cases like in pregnant women, you can see WHO recommend HRZ safe, so they gave 2 months of HRZ plus 6 months of HR. This is again we are talking about drug sensitive TB. Okay, so this is what we say WHO is recommending, but in India we avoid pyrazinamide, so our regimen is a little bit different, and we need to remember both, but more our Indian regimen. So 2 months of HRE plus 7 months of HR, and total 9 month regimen is for drug sensitive TB in pregnant women. Breastfeeding mothers may all ATT are compatible, and only the supervision is required. The most important thing is infant should receive BCG vaccination and isoniazid prophylaxis. This is very important. So what is isoniazid prophylaxis? We give isoniazid daily to the breastfeeding baby for 6 to 12 months. Chemoprophylaxis means prevention of disease. Obviously, you all know. So what are the target group? Immunocompromised patient due to any disease, and HIV infected patient which are already exposed to MDR-TB cases. In those cases, we need to start chemoprophylaxis. Means there is no sputum conversion right now. There are no positive report, but still we are starting our regimen. So these are the 4 available chemoprophylaxis regimen. One is a standard drug, isoniazid daily for 6 to 12 months, the same thing which we are giving to the breastfeeding baby. If there is some problem with this regimen, another alternative is isoniazid plus rifampicin for 6 months. So a more extensive treatment. If isoniazid cannot be used because of development of resistance, we can use rifampicin for 4 months, and for next 2 months RNZ. That is total 6 month regimen. Initial 2 months we can give rifampicin and pyrazinamide, and as we know that pyrazinamide should not be continued beyond 2 months. So we drop it and continue with the rifampicin. If there is MDR resistance or the patient is exposed to MDR patient, then we should not use isoniazid or rifampicin. We will use the regimen ethambutol pyrazinamide plus one of the fluoroquinolone, most probably levofloxacin. We start with for 6 to 12 months. So very simple chemoprophylactic regimen. First choice is isoniazid for 6 months. We can add rifampicin as well to it. If there is resistance to isoniazid, we will use rifampicin pyrazinamide combination for first 2 months, followed by 4 months of rifampicin. And if there is resistance to both isoniazid and rifampicin, you can use rest of the first line drug Z and E along with fluoroquinolone for 6 to 12 months. And this is chemoprophylaxis for those patients who are at risk of developing MDR-DB. Okay, a very last two slides where we can discuss about indication of glucocorticoid in TB. So it's okay to give glucocorticoid in TB patients because it is required sometimes to subside the inflammation. But if at all it is used, it should not be used without ATT drugs. It is very important. A glucocorticoid should always be used under the umbrella of anti-tubercular therapy. And the indication for the same is like if there is miliary TB, which you will read in your Robbins pathology. What is it? Tubercular meningitis. Read pathology about this. Rapidly filling pleural effusion and renal TB. Please read pathophysiology behind these four conditions from Robbins. And in these conditions, we used to add steroid with ATT. Need to remember that glucocorticoid should not be given without ATT. You should not stop ATT and start glucocorticoid. Whenever you need to give steroid, it should be under the umbrella of anti-tubercular therapy. So, and later on, the glucocorticoid administration withdrawn gradually, which you already know, or you will read it in endocrinology, the steroids pharmacokinetics. Last slide is for treatment of Mycobacterium avium complex, which is atypical Mycobacterium infection. So here it is intensive phase treatment of 2 to 6 months where this regimen of REC is used. So for MAC, there is regimen called RAC, rifabutin 300 mg, ethambutol 1000 mg, and clarithromycin 500 mg. There is an optional azithromycin also you can give. Both are macrolides, 500 mg per day. In maintenance phase of 12 months, either of the macrolide, clarithrol or azithro, plus ethambutol or rifabutin or fluoroquine. So earlier 3 drugs for intensive phase for 2 to 6 months in treatment of Mycobacterium avium complex, and then there are 2 drugs. 1 drug is reduced. So this is all about TB, and we will continue our management of leprosy in next session. So I am launching a poll here. I don't know whether it is there or not. Let me see. Where it is. Okay. Right now it is not available. Anyways, so that is all for today's session. We'll continue with anti-leprotic agents, or we call it MDT, multi-drug treatment, in our next session. I am requesting you all to read that PDF which I have shared with you, especially that part, that chapter 4 from page number 41, to understand the latest update in management of TB according to NTEP, National TB Elimination Program. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Am I audible, Karthikeya? Are you there? Can anyone let me know whether I am audible or not? Are you Were you able to hear so far? Shashwat, Sheetal. Okay, Shashwat, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, fine, Bhuvan. So that is what I was saying, that the our session is ending here. We'll continue with MDT multi-drug therapy for treatment of leprosy in our next session. So till then, stay safe. Bye.